Hello and welcome to Simon's Trading Channel. Happy Tuesday to you. Hope you're all well and enjoying your Christmas Eve. Big day tomorrow for people who obviously celebrate Christmas. Let's get straight on with the price action analysis. Now, I just wanted to jump in with a 4-hour chart to begin with. Now, you'll hear me talk a lot about trend and momentum, right? Mainly because that's the way I like to look at charts, from a trend point of view and a momentum point of view. Now, the trend is always your friend. And it's very easy, right? Once you've looked at charts for a while, I don't know, a few thousand hours, whatever, then, well, not even that, you can see the trend, right? But there are a few subtleties along the way. Now, on this 4-hour chart here, if you just go back to, say, September, you can see the 4-hour uptrend of higher lows and higher highs continued up to here. And then that trend was broken with this price action where the price got below the local low, which if I zoom in, it becomes more obvious. So here was the local low, price moved up, price came back down, got a bit of support and then broke down, right? So it was at this point that the uptrend was negated. And then price can either do one of two things. You can then go into a downtrend or it can just go sideways. So i.e. consolidate. So if the higher time frame trend is to the upside, then what tends to happen in Bitcoin is when a lower time frame, like a 4-hour, ceases its uptrend, it tends to just go sideways. I mean, this was a 4-hour downtrend, but only just. It was more really a consolidation. And then you can see an uptrending move on the 4-hour that basically went sideways from this point onwards, and so on and so on. Now, of this last bit of price action, I say bit of price action, since the 11th of November, and you'll see that I pointed this out in several videos. From the point of view of higher lows, and I drew it with a trend line not so long ago, that really continued until here. So at this point, when Bitcoin closed, I'm pretty sure daily, but certainly a few 4-hour candles below 92 and a half, it took out these lows and it kind of came down to this wick low. If you stick it on a line chart, it's even easier to see because that takes out this just then goes on closures. So you can see a sequence of higher lows and then, oh bum, there's a lower low. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's game over, just like on the previous example I showed you, where the price can just kind of go sideways and down a bit. But what it does mean is that for now, the impulsive move has done. It got up to, Bitcoin got up to 108, I think on a weekly closure, it was 105. Somebody mentioned that a little while ago. I wonder who it was. and and now there's a pullback. Okay, so I just wanted to show that on the 4-hour to demonstrate the change in trend, which remember is your friend, from that of an uptrend to something else. Now, the something else might just be sideways. You know, Bitcoin may end up having a range somewhere between 100,000 and, I don't know, call it 90K. It may well do that. But if it does break 90 to the downside, it's probably going to go for 85. And then, we'll come back to it. But for now, Bitcoin has certainly broken its uptrend on the 4-hour and indeed on the daily, which I'll show you in a moment, and is at the very best going sideways. You can see that reflected to the Bollinger Band. So there was an impulsive move down, and now it's going sideways. You can see the Bollinger Band is narrowing and cooling off the volatility on this 4-hour chart. The good-ish news is that the price is above the midpoint on the 4-hour, which I talked about yesterday, and indeed that is coming in at 95.5. So closures back below there, and probably a move back down towards 92.5. And the longer the Bitcoin stays above 95.5, and the more that volatility cools off, the more likely another upside move, should volatility expand, would be the one. It's a fairly good rejection, though, on this 4-hour with just 6 minutes to go, which is starting to make this high and this high look like a bit of a double top. But, whatever. All you can say at the moment on this 4-hour time frame is that this is sideways consolidation, following a sizable pullback. From a Fibonacci point of view, that nearly didn't come out. If you look, maybe if I just quiet down the Bollinger Band for a moment, if you take the last impulsive move, you see that the bounce, it's kind of bounced twice, right? But the bounces that have occurred have nearly come back to the 0.5. They've certainly achieved a 0.3. Now, if Bitcoin turns down from where it is at the moment, that would suggest that, that the bounces may be over. But bounces could indeed bounce up to, the 618 without being anything other than a bounce. And that's coming in at sort of 102. So it depends, right? It depends what happens over the next probably day or so. Probably, it's Christmas. So it might end up just being a very low volatility few days with lots of sideways price action. But I think price action anywhere up to, say, 102,000. If Bitcoin doesn't close higher time frames above there, likely just bounces with further consolidation on the cards, and then maybe another revisit of the low 90s. So that's the 4-hour time frame. You can see the momentum still to the downside, but it is indeed pointed up and green, and it will remain green for a while, as long as Bitcoin is closing 4 hours above 94 and change, which, if we give that a bit of context, 94 and change is indeed below the midpoint of the Bollinger Band at the moment. So I think the midpoint of the Bollinger Band is where I'd like to see Bitcoin remain above, which is just called 95.5. But it looks like momentum will be to the downside for a significant period longer, because Bitcoin's got to do quite a bit to get back above the zero line here on the MACD to switch the 4-hour momentum back to the upside. So, as I said earlier, probably consolidation at best on a 4-hour time frame. Let's slip over to the daily. And you can see that today, look at that for a beautiful test of the midpoint of the Bollinger Band. So the midpoint of the Bollinger Band was indeed tested on this daily time frame, came in around 100K, and Bitcoin's pulled back a little bit from there. 4 hours to go. Now, again, this you can see there was a little bit of volatility expansion on the daily following this consolidation, but nothing particularly significant. And then, indeed, it came back down to the bottom of the Bollinger Band. So this is consolidation. Who knows? Over the Christmas period, maybe even into New Year, Bitcoin could do this sort of thing. That would, however, if that happens, and if Bitcoin doesn't get back above that 102, which is a 618 retracement on Fibonacci for a bounce, that would make a very nice daily lower high, right? And then, that's the start, clearly, of a downtrend. Also, you can see that the momentum, so the MACD, will continue with downside posture as long as Bitcoin's closing dailies below 100K, which was very much rejected at that being the midpoint of the Bollinger Band today. And it's getting quite close to the zero line. Now, the last time Bitcoin was below the zero line on the MACD here was all the way back over here when the price was at 60K during that massive 6-month consolidation. So yeah, the MACD on the daily is fairly powerful from the point of view of being above or below the zero line, giving me, and I don't know how everyone else uses it, a spin on momentum. So I do feel that there probably is more downside to come. I don't know that for a fact, but 85 feels like it might be the next significant support level, as opposed to 108 being the next resistance level. But that's just my feeling. However, momentum is starting to point in that direction on the lower time frames, so daily and 4-hour. Daily still technically to the upside, but it's rapidly approaching the opposite. Let me just clear the chart. And is there anything else I wanted to mention? No, not at this point. So yeah, 100K, it's very important, but probably a bit of a range for now. And when I say a bit, call it $8,000, somewhere between 100K and 92 on a 4-hour time frame, and we'll see what happens should either of those be breached. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and hope you have a nice day tomorrow, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care. Oh, and if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.